For me, I don't think 15-year-old me would have thought any of this would happen, if I'm honest. Like, it was such a big dream of mine that I could have never imagined any of this.
One of the tracks that I feel is quite like a fierce feminine one, I'm saying feminine statement, I want to say feminist statement, is Boys Will Be Boys.
Yes.
We talk about what it's like walking home, having the keys between your hands.
Yeah.
How did it feel writing that? Was that really easy and sort of like cathartic?
It was cathartic. It was just something that I felt like I needed to write about. It's just the growing pains of being a girl, and it's just our reality. You know, starting from like the opening verse, that was my reality when I was walking home from school in the winter time when it was dark at night. Or when it would get dark really early and I was just getting off the bus, and I literally had to do a 5-minute walk, if not less, from the bus stop to my flat, and I was terrified, you know, of just like boys running around or boys on bikes or anybody catcalling, and so I would put my keys through my knuckles and I would walk home, and it sounds so crazy and absurd to think that you know, it is a reality, but that was something that I was like, this is what would make my like 5-minute feel a little bit safer. Or I'd be walking down the street and I'd pretend to be on the phone. Mm-hmm. I would do that all the time. And that's crazy, you know. Yeah. You'd pretend that you were like talking to someone just so nobody would like mess with you, or you end up like covering up or dressing, you know, basically just to avoid any form of sexual harassment or catcalling or words from other people. And that's the world we live in. So for me, Boys Will Be Boys is really a conversation starter to have the younger generation start posing questions, asking, wondering, trying to change that topic.
I read that you went to Cambridge recently and you gave a 5-point plan on how the industry can change to be more inclusive. Yeah. What were those points?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was, you know, in terms of equality and the ways that we can change it, is like start the conversation in schools about how girls don't necessarily that get encouraged to play instruments that are seen as, you know, more masculine instruments, that get the opportunity to try their hand at producing as well, because I feel like there's a lot of male producers. There's actually, from my Cambridge speech, the statistic I think is 49-1, you know, male producers to female. So I think we need to do you know, we need to make some changes in that aspect, and we see more women taking on producer roles. I think, you know, managers and record labels should be hiring more women in studios and like as engineers. It definitely changes the dynamic, especially for young women. You know, for me, when I was creating my first album, it was a lot about finding, you know, being able to kind of stand my ground or find confidence in being in a room full of men and being able to assert myself. I feel like maybe I would have gotten songs a lot quicker if I had more women in the room, or there was another energy. And you know, now I work with both men and women, but it took me a while to find the people that I love and connect with, and in you know, when I write, when I go into a room, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly like the vibe and energy that I want to bring into the session and the songs, and it was just a lot about having fun. It's also, you know, when you're a female artist and you make pop music, and you know, people instantly think it's like manufactured. You know, I feel like the only time people wouldn't think that is if you were by a piano or with a guitar. Yeah. And then people are like, oh yeah, she definitely writes her own her own stuff. Whereas it's completely different for you know, male artists. As women, we always have to prove our point a little bit more than men do, but I think we're used to working a little bit harder.
How does it feel becoming sort of like a queer icon? Do you think 15-year-old Dua Lipa, when you're singing covers on YouTube, thought that you would become like a queer icon?
For me, I don't think 15-year-old me would have thought any of this would happen. I'm just grateful for the response and the support and the fans and the listeners, and that I get to come here and show my support and my love for the LGBTQ community, and to use my platform for things that I believe in, and to be a voice for you know, my fans and my listeners. There's nothing I could wish for more than that.
People talk about your hair so much. I googled Dua Lipa hair and there was 37 300,000 million hits.
Me going for this was happened like on a photo shoot where I put on like a blonde wig and I had my dark hair underneath, and I was like, oh, I think this is what I'm gonna do.
Is that how it started?
Yeah, that's just how I had it underneath, and all like the dark hair kept coming through, and I was like, oh, I really like this, I'm just gonna go and do it. And then I almost like gave it meaning, whereas like the nostalgic part of me is still underneath and then the future side is on top. And no one warned me about how high maintenance bleached hair is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, your hair looks so good. And, I now have a fringe, but we cover it perfectly.